third grade catechism when our teacher dutifully told us that our God was a Trinity of persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, which resonated well with all the prayers I'd ever said in my life. And then she told us that this was a great mystery that we wouldn't be able to understand, which I took as a challenge. And then she started to do things like draw a triangle on the board and tell us that the triangle had three sides, but it was one triangle, which made perfectly good sense. And she probably had a shamrock to show us with its three leaves. And almost certainly she talked about the relationship between a mom and a dad and a child. And I don't remember this, but I wouldn't be surprised if she even told us about how ice and steam and water are all the same substance, but they come in different forms, which I would have pretended I understood. Being, an above average third grader and very good at math, I couldn't for the life of me understand why any of this was supposed to be a mystery, because it all was perfectly sensible and logical to me. Over the years, I've come to recognize that our God is a great mystery. And I wonder sometimes if we haven't done a disservice to our understanding of God by coming up with all of these very simple ways of trying to make sense of something that's so much more, right? That if God wanted to be put in a box or a triangle, such as the case may be, he could have done that. Jesus probably understood the Trinity, probably completely understood his relationship with his Father and with the Holy Spirit. And yet never once did he pull out a three-leaf plant and try to explain his relationship with a three-leaf plant. No offense to St. Patrick. And while he could have spoken of his relationship with the Father as that of a parent and a child, but he was always, there was more to this that John understood, I think, completely, but he never could quite find the right words. That God is love. And it's possible that Peter didn't completely understand and Thomas didn't understand at all. But Peter knew something that you and I probably will never know. He knew Jesus. He had this relationship with Jesus that made him sure that when he was with his friend and his Lord, he was with God. Somehow he came to understand in the words, in the actions, in the love that was poured out in so many ways upon him in mercy and dignity and forgiveness, and upon the people that he came to love, this crowd that would press in upon them. He came to understand that the Father, that Abba, that their God was present in this relationship. So much so, and you've heard me say this before, but it's my very favorite profession of faith, one that I want to be able to make from the bottom of my heart one day. When everybody was leaving, John chapter 6, and Jesus has told them, you have to eat my flesh and drink my blood. And they're like, you're just kidding, right? And he says, my flesh is true food. And if you don't eat it, you won't have life in you. And my blood is true drink for you to drink. And so reasonably, right? They all left because the man was talking crazy. And Jesus turns to the 12 and he says, so are y'all leaving too? And what Peter answers is incredible because Thomas would have been tempted to say, Lord, can you explain that one more time? I didn't quite understand. But Peter doesn't say that. And he doesn't say, I have a knife here. Can I have a chunk of your flesh? He doesn't understand at all what Jesus is talking about. But what he says is, I can't leave. Right? He says, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of everlasting life. We've come to know and believe that you're the Messiah, the Christ of God. Like, having known you, I have to stay. Which is our church's profession of faith. That's why our children stay in church once they've come to know church, because God is present in this community of believers. And somehow in that relationship, Peter came to know something about the Trinity, more than a triangle or a clover or even the chemical makeup of the H2O molecule, right? Like that he came to understand something relational about love. Now, if our images, our symbols of Trinity fall flat, short, in fact, they're constraining and obnoxious to God, I am sure. Also, our understanding of God as love falls short because our understanding of love falls short, but it's different. Our understanding of love invites us into something more. It doesn't limit us or make us think when we're 8 that we've understood the world of God. That love invites us to strive for something more perfect, more complete. And so yes, the love that I've received is less than the love that God would give me. And the love that I've given is far less than the love that God invites me to enter into and give. But I'm not through growing in love. And when we see the love of a mother for her son, when we see the love of children poured out for their parents, when we see the love of spouses, maybe as they gaze into each other's eyes at the altar, maybe as they rub one another's feet 62 years into their marriage. Like there's something in that relationship, there's something in that love that invites us to enter into the love of our God. And it's not that God is somehow passively love. God is love, actively loving. And love doesn't just sit there on the shelf. Love embraces and draws and gives. Among the Trinity, yes, but beyond, because that is God's nature to love. And so he invites us into that love, and he invites us to share that love with each other, and he invites us to love with his love. And yes, we'll fall short, but it's a different kind of short than when we try to describe God as a clover, than when we try to understand God with geometric figures. God is love. And what we celebrate on Trinity Sunday is God as relationship, God as giving and receiving, God as pouring out and accepting, God as giving of himself and gratefully receiving from God, from the persons of God, and then from us. And we're invited to see this love as something that could grow to the fullness of God, that could grow to the fullness of eternity.